All right, here we go. It's Thursday. Welcome. We're going to be doing, we were doing multiplication. So if we saw let's say that 2 was right there next to the n, that was multiplication. This is division. The opposite of division is multiplication. But I've taught you, for some of you guys at home, I've taught you different. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at these as fractions. So since we are dealing with a fraction, this is n divided by 2 or n over 2, like a fraction. There is a 1 here. So this fraction is essentially 1 over 2n. All right. And we're going to turn that negative 3 into a fraction. How do we turn a negative 3, just a whole number, into a fraction? What do we got to do to it? Put it over what?
2.
1. Just 1. Because negative 3 divided by 1 is negative 3. So what I've done here is I've turned them into fractions. And you can just do that up here like that. Put the 1 there, and then you got 1/2, and you can do it here. But I just switched it so you understand what you're looking at as half n, okay? In order to get rid of a fraction, which is a division problem, you multiply by its reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 3/2 is just simply flipping it over to 2/3. That's the reciprocal. When you multiply that, they all cancel each other out, and you get 1. Same thing, if I had 4 over 1, its reciprocal would be 1 over 4. And if I multiply those two, I simply get 1. That's what I want. So the same thing's going to happen here. And I'm going to do parentheses because that means multiplication. So I'm going to multiply by 2 over 1. That gets rid of this fraction in front of the n. Same thing up here. If I did that, I'm going to do 2 over 1. The 2's cross out, the 1's cancel. In other words, that you have 2 divided by 2, which is 1, or simply n. Now, if I do that on one side, I must multiply by that on the other. Two ways of thinking on this. If you have a nice calculator and you can do fractions, and you want to do this, you would simply hit the negative, which is right there, and I would hit 3, and then that button, and 1, and then I would say times. Oops, we gotta move it. I forgot. Ew. Well, let's cancel this out. Here we go. So negative 3, that fraction button, 1. Some calculators have an ABC button. You would do that. So I need to move it, and then times, and then I'm going to do that 1 or 2 over 1. And then I can simply hit the equals, and it's going to give me negative 6. If you don't have that, then what you're going to do is multiply the tops, multiply the bottom. So I would do negative 3. I don't know if you can actually see that calculator or not, but I'm going to hit negative 3 times 2 equals, and that's negative 6, and then 1 times 1, which is 1, and then I can take negative 6 divided by 1. Negative 6 divided by 1, and I still will get negative 6. So that's the long way about it. This next one, we're going to make it easy and quick. The reason I'm doing this is because we're going to do fractions this year, and I need you to understand that to get rid of a fraction, you use its inverse. So again, this is that 1 over 16, so its opposite would be 16 over 1. 1 over 16, 16 over 1. If I do that on one side, I must go to the other side and do 16 over 1. I'll put that over 1. 16s, the 1s, we're left with the v. We know that. That's 1. 1 times v is v. So again, you can do 16 times negative 14 if you don't have a calculator with the fraction on it. So I can do 16 times negative 14. I'm going to get 224. Negative 224. And then the bottom, I do the bottom, and that's 1 times 1, which is 1. And the simple part about that is that negative 224 divided by 1 is negative 224. Anytime you have a 1 on the bottom, it's just the whole number on the top. And yes, I remember last year we just simply said we're going to multiply both sides by 16. But when we get to Monday and Tuesday, that's not going to work because we're going to have fractions on both sides. So in order to do this, you need to understand that the opposite is reciprocal. Flipping it over is the same thing as multiplying by 16. I get that. 16 over 1 is 16. But when we get to having fractions, for instance, if I have 2/3 equals, let's say 3/4 n, how do I get rid of that? Well, I have to multiply by 4/3, and I have to do that over here. Well, our 4s are gone, our 3s are gone. That's what leaves us with our n. But over here, we have to deal with a fraction. If you have a fraction calculator, you simply take 4/3 times 2/3. If not, I'm going to do 4 times 2, which is 8, and 3 times 3, which is 9. Well, this won't reduce, but that's my answer. So that's why we're doing this, because when you start dealing with fractions, we need to understand the reciprocal is actually the opposite, which, yes, I understand in these is the same as me multiplying each side by 2. But we need to understand reciprocal. So there you go. If you have any questions, I know that was a lot to take in. If you have any questions, let me know and we can sit and I'll do some more examples. Otherwise, watch it again. Have a good day. Hit me up. Also at 1:50, I have Zoom Google Meets if you have any questions for today.